Next guest here was a star of the Real Housewives of New York in season 5 and 6, Aviva Drescher. Welcome. I'm sure a lot of people know who you are, but for the few who don't, let's just watch a clip from the Real Housewives of New York, and then we're going to come back and talk about your family's immigration story.
The only thing that is artificial or fake about me. I knew she was oh my God!
Oh my God! You seem like such
Brad.
You seem like such a nice person. What was that? Wow.
That was entertainment.
That was entertainment. I think a lot of people know, and they just saw, if they didn't, you have a prosthetic leg. How did that all happen? How did that all come about?
So in 1977, my Jewish father from Brooklyn, he was in the tax shelter business upstate New York, which I'm sure, as you know, is now illegal.
Right.
I was sleeping over at a friend's house, and I woke up in the morning, and we snuck out of the house, and we rode on a conveyor belt. My foot got stuck.
Oh my God.
And the rest is history.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was about six years old.
Do you vividly remember what happened, or you kind of block it all out of your head?
I do vividly remember it, and for me, it's not that big of a deal. It's like wearing glasses. I'm very used to it, and I've really made lemonade out of lemons, and really did the Real Housewives show predominantly to help other people who are missing limbs. You can do anything with a prosthesis that a two-legged person can do. In fact, it helps a little bit. Wearing high heels, and my good sound leg is tired, I can lean on my prosthetic leg, which can actually carry more force.
You're an attorney as well, correct?
Yes, I'm an attorney. I don't practice.
You don't practice, but you have your license. You have your license still. You kept your license.
Yes, right. I just work on philanthropy now. I really just work on I have 3 children. I work on my family, my husband, and my children.
Do you have a specific charity you work for? You work for multiple charities.
I'm the national spokesperson for A Step Ahead, and that's the charity that I work on and try to raise money for. Insurance here in America doesn't pay for many prosthetics at all. If you lose a limb from cancer or an accident, the insurance policies are terrible. A child who is growing and may need 2 or 3 per year is not going to survive on one per lifetime. Additionally, there are aesthetic components to the limbs which make you feel really whole and really good about yourself that are not covered at all.
Your family has an immigration experience. You're a first generation born in America, is that correct?
Yes, my mother was from Germany, and my father actually is American. He's from Brooklyn, New York. But my mother immigrated to Connecticut when she was 14 years old. She was a child of World War II.
Did she ever tell you about her experience about immigrating, or does she not talk about that part of her life?
She actually didn't talk much about her life. I think it was very harrowing and difficult for her, the whole experience. And I think that her life really began here, though, once she turned 18 and she could work in America. She was a Pan Am flight attendant.
Right.
Which was a very prestigious job. You had to be really well educated, and you had to speak multiple languages and all the rest of it. And my mother was also a model, and she loved America. And then she met this, Brooklyn rough around the edges guy.
Right.
And my parents grew together and became a real it couple in New York. My father was a very well-known certified public accountant for celebrities. He was heavily involved in the tax shelter business back in the day.
Right.
He worked with people such as he was the accountant for the Beatles and John Lennon, Woody Allen, Mike Milken, Stevie Wonder, a lot of other singers and important Wall Street people. My father took care of.
Wow. And for those who don't know, back in the day, sometimes people would go into these tax shelters. They were basically losing businesses, and businesses that lost money. And as a result of the loss in money in one business and they made money in another business, people were trying to avoid having to pay taxes. You can't do that anymore. But at the time, back in the 1970s, it's kind of how it worked. You are living, for all accounts, a more privileged life than most people who are watching this show. Tell us from your vantage point what you think of what's going on with immigration today.
First of all, both of my parents were economically very poor and came from nothing. and built an entire life together, and we're major, major contributors to society. So there's that. You all got to watch me throw my leg because of them.
Yes.
On television. I think that it's really important. I'm here in New York City, which is a melting pot. People who immigrate have so much more to offer often than what we have here in America on its own, medically, in every area. In foreign countries, they have a tremendous amount to teach us and to bring to the table. They can enhance our country.
Of course.
I respect and understand that we're safe. That seems to be a sort of disguise. Let's keep our country safe and keep everybody out. That seems to be a disguise of something more sinister at work here. And that something sinister seems to be some sort of racism.
Of course.
Some sort of elitist attitude that is not the American way. And this wall nonsense and keeping people out and sending people back to their country is just absurd. Just absolutely absurd, and it doesn't solve anything. I think it's a very sad time in our country.
You have certainly overcome a lot of adversity and a lot of anxiety, certainly with your leg. What do you have to say to people? The sun will come out tomorrow, and live day by day.
When faced with adversity, you have two choices. You can go down the path of complete negativity and feeling horrible and terrible, or you can look at it and just say a few words to yourself, which is, it could be worse. And you need to put your brain towards the positive, no matter what terrible situation comes your way. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or what level you're at in anything. Focus on the positive. Grab onto that.
Aviva, I really appreciate you coming on our show and sharing your insight and your family's immigration history and what you do to help people and the adversity that you overcame. And thank you very much. I really appreciate coming on.
Rod, I wanted to tell you one more thing. Many people come from abroad who have money and who don't have money to my prosthetist to get prosthetics that cost north of $10,000 a leg. And if people cannot come in to get the state-of-the-art prosthetics, how terrible would that be? There's so many ramifications to all of this nonsense.
And I would bet the engineers and the scientists and the medical personnel who actually develop all these prosthetics, I would bet you that more than half were born in another country who are now working on this here in America. Thank you very much, Aviva. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.